Well, hello everybody. Matt over at SFREP. I'm glad that you could join me today. Hopefully where you are, it is as gorgeous as it is here in Charlotte. Couldn't ask for a better day. It's going to be like 80 degrees today. It's sunny. And as soon as I'm done here, I'm working out on the deck. It's going to be amazing. So glad that you could join us today. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing kind of part two of our Introduction to Appraise-It Pro webinar, and we call this some of the tips and tricks webinar. And we just kind of go over some more advanced things with Appraise-It Pro. So I'm glad you could join us, and we'll go ahead and we'll get started here. Now, a couple things with this webinar. You've probably already done our Introduction to Appraise-It Pro webinar. If you haven't, you will probably want to do that before you do this webinar. We have some recorded examples of that webinar. So if you go to our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/SFREP. You can click on live and you'll see all the past webinars we've done, and you can go and view one of our Introduction to Appraise-It Pro webinars, which is kind of a part one to this webinar's part two. I will also assume that you've done one of these on YouTube already. So, but just in case you haven't, there is chat over to the right, and you can also click on the little rectangle in the lower right hand corner of the video. That will put it into theater mode. That will move the chat down to the bottom from the right. And then you will be able to use the chat below, but you'll have a bigger video, so it'll be easier for you to see how things are going. And I do encourage you to use the chat. I always like talking to you guys, answering any questions that you might have. So let's go ahead and we will get started. By the way, if you are viewing this after the fact, if you're not watching it live, and you can't use the chat, what you can do is you can use our email address, training@sfrep.com. And you can use that to, get trained or request a one-on-one training, or to, ask any questions that you might have about the software. Now, obviously, if you need assistance and it's time sensitive, then you're going to want to contact our tech support, which is 800-644-4051 or tech@sfrep.com. All right, so let's get started. This is we're going to launch Appraise-It Pro here. Now, you're not going to see the splash screen that ends up coming up on my other monitor, but in just a second, Appraise-It Pro will launch here. There we go. And the first thing that I want to go over is sometimes I do go over this in I'm going to just open up a blank 1004 here. Now, sometimes I do go over this in our Introduction to Appraise-It Pro, but sometimes I don't. So I do want to go over it because it is one of my favorite features of Appraise-It Pro, and that is the automatic shrinking text. Real simple to see this at work. So we're going to type in Charlotte here. Now, if I do it a second time, I can fit 2 Charlottes in there, no problem. What about a third time? Not going to fit, but what it's going to do is it is going to automatically shrink the text so I can fit additional words in there. And the way that it shrinks the text is very subtle. And so if you weren't looking for it, you might not even be able to tell that it actually shrank the text. So if you think about it here, it lets me fit 3 Charlottes in there. If I do 4, it's going to start to run off the edge. But if you think about it in a larger field, a multi-line field like this one down here, if you have more text that you can shrink down, then you have much more area that you can put additional, like up to an additional sentence in there. And that's really great if you don't want to cause the reader to have to go over to the extended comments. That's always annoying when you're reading it. And it's annoying for you guys because you have to go to a separate section that's going to automatically pop up and then, continue your thoughts. So if you just need to fit an extra few words in there, maybe an extra sentence, the automatic shrinking text will allow you to do that. Whoops, I've opened up I didn't mean to open up a browser. Here we go. All right. Now, when you are importing data from another report, there is 2 ways to do this. You can either use the comp manager, which I go over in a whole other video and a whole other webinar, so I don't want to get into that right now. But if you just need to grab some comp information, some listing information, or some sections from another report, or maybe an addendum from another report, you can use a standard import. And the way this works, there's 2 ways you can do it. The way that I prefer to do it, and because it does include search, so you can come over here to the home menu, and you could come over here to import forms or import comparables. And that works, but it does require you to actually browse to find them. And that can be, if you don't know what you're looking for, and I only have 3 reports in here, but if you don't know what you're looking for, there could be thousands and thousands of reports in here that you would have to sift through. So what I generally recommend people do is come over here to help, or excuse me, come over here to the file menu, which is right here. That brings you back to this backstage area. We'll come over here to search. And here in the search, we can actually start filling out information. Now, I go over the search in the Introduction to Appraise-It Pro webinar, but basically the more information you put in here, the more targeted and narrowed down your search results are going to be. Just for demonstration purposes, though, I'm just going to hit search here, and I'm going to have 3 reports that show up. So we'll just pretend that I did a targeted search, and I found 3 results. Now what I can do is I can right-click on them, and I can choose to import forms or import comparables. So I'm going to import a comparable here. Just ignore this, especially if you're not coming over from Appraise-It Classic. If you're a new customer, you can definitely ignore this. If you're coming over from Appraise-It Classic, you may want to select a print scheme here, but in most cases you don't have to. Whoops, let me go back in here. Right click, we're going to do import. Make sure I'm doing one that actually has information in it. This one does. So we're going to import comparables. And so this is where the destination is going to be, and then this is the source. So in this report, we have 6 comparables plus the subject. So let's say I want to grab comparable number 4 and I want to put it in my new report as comparable number 1. Well, I can just use this pull down menu here and I can do sales comparables. And then by default, it is going to go in there as a sales comparable. And what I want to do is I want to deselect all, and I only want to grab number 4. So I'm going to select sales comparable. And then I'm going to go ahead and I want to override existing comparables, which there aren't any, but if there was, it would override it. And then I can also include adjustments in there as well, which I generally am going to want to do. So I'm going to click on import. I'm going to say yes here. And now if I come down here, you'll see that I've imported comp number 4 from that report into comp number 1 here. It's going to bring over all the comp data. Plus, if I go to sales comparable photos 1 through 3, you'll see that it's also brought in the photo as well. So that's a real easy way that you can import comps from another report. Of course, you can also do it with the computer. It could also be in a photo management program. Most photo management programs support this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to General Photos 3x5. This is just a blank photo page. And you don't have to use the image manager or the comp manager to put photos into your report. Now you can, and if you're used to doing that, you're more than welcome to continue doing that. But if you open up your photo management software, your camera software, or just a folder that has your photos in it, you can then just simply click and drag the photos directly into Appraise-It Pro. And you can do it over and over again, wherever you want it to go. And then it will place it into your report. So, this is a real easy way for you to be able to put things into your report. Now, if you're bringing in like really high resolution photos you took with your DSLR, they will be resized when they come in here. And what I mean by that, they're going to be compressed more than they our earlier work, because you don't need to have the best quality in the world. So it's going to compress it more, and it's going to resize them so that they fit well onto the page. And then that's going to prevent you from, having some monstrously big XML file that you need to email or send through a portal or something like that, because most of these AMC's lenders, they have pretty ridiculous size requirements for their files. But you guys probably already know that. It always boggles my mind, some of the requirements that they have. Creating a template. Now, sometimes I go over this, sometimes I don't in the introduction. So I'm going to go over it here now. Using templates, if you're coming over from Appraise-It Classic, a template is basically like a skeleton in Appraise-It Classic. It serves the same function, but it's much easier and better in Appraise-It Pro, and the way that you deal with them is so much better. Essentially in Appraise-It Pro, a template, which is what we now call what were skeletons in Appraise-It Classic, a template is nothing more than a regular report file that's been promoted to template status. But at its heart, inside, it is just a report file. That's it. So what you can do is you can open up a blank report, or you can open up an existing report if you want to and clean it up. But you can, by the way, you're going to hear me sniffling. Terrible allergies right now. I'm allergic to grass pollen, and it's very high today. What you can do is you can open up a blank report, fill it out in the way that you want in order to start a new report. So to have it be a starting place for a brand new report. So fill out different sections. You can put different blank like, images in there. You can put maybe an image if you're in North Carolina. I think North Carolina and Missouri require an image of your license, or of your seal rather. So you can put the seal in there. You can put your insurance information or whatever you want. Get it the way you want it. And then all you have to do is come over here to Home, and under Save As, you're going to select Save As Template. So basically, if you just hit Save As, you'll do Save As Report, but we're going to do Save As Template. Then you give it a name. And for this one, let's just select, and I'm just doing them by the city, but you could do it for a variety of reasons, for different lenders, for different neighborhoods, whatever it is. We'll do it for a city. I'll do Fort Mill. I'll save. And then I'll close out this report. Do we want to save it? No, we don't. Now, if I come over here to New, and I go to the 1004, which is where I already am, you'll notice now Fort Mill shows up as a template. I can double click on it, and now it will open it up, and I'm ready to begin a report. So this basically, templates are a place where you can start a report from. And remember, guys, if you have any questions, all you got to do is use the chat. I'll be happy to answer any questions for you. Now, what I'm going to do for this next one is I'm going to close out of this report. And we are going to just open up a report that has some data in it. Mock data, but it's data nonetheless. Now, how do you deal with comparables? Moving comparables over, swapping them, things like that. Now, you can do that in the comp manager, of course. And if you're used to doing that in Appraise-It Classic, you can continue to do that in Appraise-It Pro as well. But there is actually a real quick way you can do this. So let's say I want to get rid of comp number 1. All I have to do is right-click anywhere in that comp. Doesn't matter where, just right-click anywhere in the comp. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say Clear Comp. Say yes, and now it's gone. Now let's say I want to move comp number 3 over to where comp number 1 is. So I'm going to right-click. I'm going to cut the comp. And then I'm going to right-click. And then I'm going to paste the comp. And I'm going to say overwrite. There it goes. And what it's doing is it's overwritten both the photo and it's overwritten all of the comp data as well. So everything's getting moved around. Okay. So if I want to copy comp number 1 to comp number 3, let's say that they're a townhome community and comp number 1 and comp number 3 are very similar to each other, and I just want to make a couple of those little changes, then what I can do is I can right click, select copy, come over here, right click, select paste, and boom, there we go. Now I've got a copy, I've got the same one in comp number 1 and comp number 3. And if I come over here to sales comps 1 through 3, you'll see that the photos are the same as well as the data over on the right. Real simple. I'm going to skip over a couple of these because some of these just don't really apply. The work file. Oh, actually, before we do that, let's go over to, let's see. Sorry, guys. I had to get a tissue because of these allergies. Let's go over to, let's first go over here to Home, or excuse me, to File. And we're going to come over here to Search. And this search area, we showed it to you just a little while ago. This search area is completely customizable. So the way this works is over here on the right-hand side, I can select one of these. Let's say state. I'm only licensed in one state, so I'm never going to need the state field. So I can click on this remove the little trash can icon. And do you want to remove state parameter? Yes, I do. And now it is gone, and it's now shuffled everything up. So now zip code is the last one in there. Okay, now let's say that, hey, I have recently become licensed in South Carolina as well. Charlotte is right on the border of North and South Carolina, so a lot of appraisers around here would be registered in both or licensed in both states. So what I can do now is I can add that state back in. So I can use this pull-down menu and find state. They're in alphabetical order. There it is. But now it's kind of orphaned over here on the right-hand side, and I like to keep my things nice and tidy. So what I'm going to use these up and down arrow keys. And I'm going to move state up in the list until it was after city where it was. And now everything's happy, everything's great, everything's kosher, and it's where it needs to be. Now, what if instead of getting rid of the state, I wanted to make it something different? Well, I can do that as well. I can use the pull down menu here, and I can call it, let's change state into map reference. There you go, real easy. Or I can make it the order due date. Or I can put it back to where it was as state. My My mouse is doing some weird things, but we'll figure that out later. Now, if I want to add something, there is a blank one down here, so I can pull it. I can pull this down, select, let's say, gross living area, and now I've added gross living area. Or I can get rid of gross living area, say yes, and now it is gone. And I can also adjust this up and down. So let's say, like, maybe right there is where the good happy medium there. Now, when you do a search, you can also right-click over to the side, or excuse me, you can just click and drag over to the side. And this is kind of like a table or a section of like an Excel document. So it has a bunch of cells here, and I can right-click over, or excuse me, I can just click and drag over to the right to see all of the different data that there is about that particular address. The other thing is there is now in Appraise-It Pro something called a work file. Now, if you are coming over from another software vendor, the work file is going to make sense to you. If you're coming over from Appraise-It Classic, this is going to be a new concept for you. So basically what the work file is it's a folder on your computer, just a regular old Windows folder that is associated with a particular report. And it's someplace where you can dump stuff in that is associated with the report, but you don't really want it in the report. Okay, so you don't want it to be in the report so that it might get accidentally sent over to the lender, or you don't want it in the report so it's just going to, clutter things up. But you do want to file some images away, some extra images you took but you didn't end up using, or maybe some PDFs that support your valuation, whatever it is. What you can do is you can search for that particular report. Once you find it, you can single click or you can right click. You can right click and go open work file, or you can just single click to highlight it. Come over down here to the lower right-hand corner, click on work file. And what that's going to do is that is going to make a folder for this particular report. And then here, because I had already done this earlier, there's a photos folder, but you could just dump some PDFs in here, some Excel documents, whatever you want. It will always be associated with that particular report. If you are currently in the report and you want to see the work file, you can come over here to the home section, the home tab up here, and then you can come over here to open work file, and it does the same thing. And in this case, we're in the pro sample, and it's got a bunch of photos that are in here in the work file as well. So you can put anything you want in there, all Windows files, whatever it is. It's just a regular Windows file that is associated with that particular report. Now, let's say that you like to customize things, and you want to customize the look and the feel of Appraise-It Pro. Specifically, you don't like having your panels, there are 4 primary panels: report, validator, responses, and format. So you like to have them, let's say, tabbed over on the left-hand side. Well, you can do that. It's completely customizable. What I can do is I can grab the validator panel, pull it out, and then come over here, and I'm going to select this one right here in the middle. There's this little wheel here so I could put things, and it kind of shows you an example of where it's going to go. And I'm just holding down the mouse button while I move this around. So you can see different ways that you can do things here. But what I want to do is I want to tab them. So I'm going to select that one to tab it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with responses. So we'll put it over here. I'm going to tab that one. And then format. I'm going to tab that one as well. And maybe I like to have my format panel right after report, so I can click that and drag it over. So this is completely customizable. And now all of my panels are tabbed down here at the bottom, and I've got way more editing area over here in the report editing section. Now, if invariably when you're trying this out and you're doing this, you might do something terrible like this and you just mess everything up and you might panic a little bit. Don't worry. All you got to do is go to View, select Reset to Default. Do you want to reset it? I'm going to say yes. And now it puts everything back the way it was, factory defaults. Real simple. For some of you who are coming in the middle, welcome. What you can do is you can actually go back in time. You can use the little progress bar at the bottom of the video and go back to the beginning of the webinar, and you can watch it from the beginning, or you can continue on from here and then go back and watch the beginning later on. Just want to say hey to everybody who came in after the fact. Tabs. So a lot of you are used to using Chrome or Edge as your web browser. And you know how it has a tab, you can open up multiple tabs. That same concept is in Appraise-It Pro as well. So right now I have the main body of the report open. But what I can also do is I can open up other addenda within this report. And what they do is they get tabbed up here at the top. So I can have multiple things open, dealing with multiple things. And then when I'm done, all I have to do is click on the X and it'll close it out. Now it doesn't delete it from the report or anything. It's just I'm done with it. and I can go ahead and I can close it. If you have multiple monitors on your computer, like I do here on this computer, you can actually click and pull these tabs out just like you can in a web browser. And I could put them over on another monitor completely and have, take real advantage of my 2 or 3 monitors and be able to spread things out. You can also open up multiple instances or multiple copies of Appraise-It Pro on multiple monitors and have different files open and be able to copy and paste and everything between them as well. Let's see here. I'm going to skip over it. I'm trying to manage time here. We're already 21 minutes in, so some of these are kind of, I'm going to skip over them. One of the ones I do want, oops, I accidentally closed everything. Let's pull that back up. One of the things that you might find useful that a lot of people don't know about in Appraise-It Pro is getting the census tract. So if I don't know what the census tract is here, I could just go into the flood map program, but I'm going to get charged a flood map lookup, and maybe I don't want a flood map for this particular report. One of the things you can do is you can come over here to services, and remember there are services and tools, and it might seem that they're kind of redundant with each other, but services are online based stuff. So things that they go out to the internet and need, or that need the internet in order to work. So street maps, flood maps, Appraiser Genie, market analysis, things like that use the internet. Tools are local to your computer and don't need an internet connection in order to work. Okay, so that's the distinction between these. And to get the census tract, we're going to be going out into the internet. So it's going to be under services, and I'm going to select get census tract. Now what it's going to do is it's going to go out to the internet, look up this address, and then it is going to go to the government server, find out what the census tract is, and it's going to put it in there automatically. That is completely free to you guys. You don't have to pay anything for it. It is included in the Appraise-It subscription plan. When you are using responses, and I go over this in the Introduction to Appraise-It Pro webinar, but I go over a couple of ways that you can actually use responses. The most popular one would be start typing. Here, let me close this. This makes it a little bit easier to see, less cluttered. So we'll open up a blank 1004. Okay, so actually opened up one of the new templates I did, but that's okay. So if I want to use one of the responses, the easiest way, and the way that most people do, is you just start typing M, it knows I mean Matthews, and then I can just tab out. Of course, I can also just come over here to the right, and I can double click on Matthews. But a third option that I don't generally go over is you can actually hit F2 on your keyboard, and you get a little pull down menu. Then I can use the arrow keys to select the one that I want. There's Matthews, just like that. Or of course, if I have assigned it an F key, I can just hit F3 on my keyboard and it'll put it in there as well. That's a carryover from Appraise-It Classic. Now, maybe you don't have the best eyesight in the world. I know I don't. And, as I get older, it's only getting worse. So you may, your monitor might not be as big, maybe on a laptop or something like that. You need to be able to see this editing area a little bit better. Well, what you can do is you can come down here to the lower right-hand corner, and you can actually zoom in or zoom out. So I'm going to zoom in. Now, of course, there's a trade-off here. Everything's bigger and it's easier to read, but now I have to scroll in order to see the entire report. But at least I can see everything. If you want to put it back the way it was, you click on here, select Fit to Width, say OK, and it puts it back the way it was. And of course, you can also go to the view and say Reset to Default if you want. If you get lost and you can't figure out how to do it, it'll put everything back to factory settings. If you are going to be getting a monitor and you do have bad eyesight, one of the things I do recommend people do is go out and get like a 32-inch 1080p television. It's probably going to run you $120 tops, but you can get a nice big 32-inch 1080p television and use it as a monitor. Or maybe you even go up to like a 43-inch. And even if it's 4K, you can use it in 4K mode with your computer if it supports it, or you can just use it in 1080p mode. But I have a bunch of customers who have literally mounted a 43-inch TV or even a 50 or a 55-inch TV in front of their desk and use it as a monitor, and that works really well. So as our eyesight goes, it makes it a lot easier. Let's see, I'll skip over that one. Oh, report security. This is a big one. Okay, and this is something I definitely want everyone to be aware of. In Appraise-It Classic, if you're coming over from Appraise-It Classic, report security is associated with signing the report, and it is not like that in Appraise-It Pro. The reason we didn't do it that way is because in Appraise-It Classic, using that for security, it was surfacely secure, but really, if you knew what you were doing even marginally, you could go in and you could bypass that security. And we had a lot of people that were requesting, hey, look, I want to be able to email this to somebody, but I want it to be secure. You know, I need a way to be able to do that. So what we did was we changed security around. Now, when you sign the report, all you're doing is you're just applying an image of your signature to the report. It is not locking the report. It has nothing to do with security any longer. And if you if you sign your report, somebody or you or anybody can come in there and they can still edit it. So be aware of that. If you want to truly secure your report from prying eyes, you need to come over here to Secure Report. And you will have the option to either password protect the report from editing, but you can still view it, or you can make it so that you can edit it and view it. So you can say, okay, I don't want anybody to be able to view it or edit it, or you can allow them to view it but not edit it, or you can make it wide open so they can view and edit it, okay? Or you can do both. So you can double secure it. So the way this works is require a password to edit the report, require a password to open the report. And you can make them two different passwords if you want. If you want to be able to view it but not open it up for editing, you can do that. Or you can just put one password on there and open it up for everything. When you put this password on there, it is going to use military grade 256-bit encryption on the report so that you can, when you save it as a report file, you'll be able to send that report file to somebody else over email and be assured that it is completely and totally secure. Now, obviously, don't send I have to say this, don't send the password in the same email as you're sending the report, because then you're just completely, that's not secure. Ideally, you would want to either text or call the person with the password so that, the password is not being sent at all along with the report. Otherwise, at least send the password in a different email than you're sending the actual file. Okay. But the most secure way would be send the password in a completely different method. So, text it to them, call them, whatever you want to do. And that is going to, completely secure your report. So it's true security that, even the government would have a hard time. You need basically you need a supercomputer to be able to break it. And even with a supercomputer, it takes a long time. Real-time validation rule set. This is kind of important. If there's two types of rule sets right now with Appraise-It Pro and with reports in general, there's the UCDP rule set. What this means is the set of rules that the program is using to check your report. There are two of them. There's UCDP, which is the regular UAD report. And then there's also FHA for doing FHA reports. Now they're very, very similar, almost identical, but there are some key differences. And when you are checking your report or when you start your report, make sure that you have selected the correct pull down here, because you want to make sure that you're checking your report, with the correct rule set. It will remember the last rule set that you used, so keep that in mind. So last time, if you did an FHA report, it's going to still say FHA in here, and you'll need to switch it back to UCDP if you're just doing your regular UAD report. Appraise-It Classic compatibility. This is for those of you who are coming over from Appraise-It Classic. If you want to be able to transport your report back over to Appraise-It Classic, then before you begin your report, you're going to want to click on this. What this is going to do is this is going to disable all of the things in Appraise-It Pro that kind of make it Appraise-It Pro, all the cool new features, so that you will be able to transport this report back over to Appraise-It Classic. There's a couple of reasons you might want to do this. You might want to, just try out Appraise-It Pro, and maybe you still aren't very good with it and you want to be able to bring it back over to Appraise-It Classic. But the other big reason you may want to do this is if you're going to be uploading your report to ACI Sky, like an ACI Sky based portal. The reason for this is that ACI Sky kind of did a little bit of a not very smart thing, in my opinion. They hard-coded their PDF scraping. They're not really supposed to be doing PDF scraping anyway, but whatever. But they hard-coded it so that when we switched over to Appraise-It Pro when you used a different PDF generation engine. It broke compatibility with ACI Sky, and we tried to work with them on multiple occasions to try to fix this problem. They said that they did not have the manpower to be able to fix it. We offered to fix it for them. They declined. So we have to have this little workaround for right now. And that is when you go to services, when you go to orders, you can create a Mismo XML, or you can create an ACI Sky export. And what it does is it's going to use the PDF engine that was from Appraise-It Classic to generate your report. So if you know you're going to be doing a report that's going to be delivered to ACI Sky, make sure that you engage Appraise-It Classic compatibility. When you have it engaged, you'll see it's dark. Just the little blue stays there, and then you can disengage it as well. If you have any questions on that, or if you're not quite clear on when or how to use that, just call our tech support and they'll explain it to you. A couple other things I want to show you is over here in the support tab. You can get support from our tech support via either chat, email. You can do self-service support using our knowledge base. So if you click on it, it will show you all of the latest articles that have been written, and you can kind of go through there, or you can just click it and it will open up a web page under the knowledge base. And you can say, hey, I want to know about PDF, and you can do a search. And these are all the different documents that have to do with PDF. Also, if you are going to be contacting our email or contact our support via email, always use this email link that is under tech support. Don't use the send feedback icon here. This will eventually get your email over to support, but it will be very slow. If you click on this, it'll go directly to support. And remember that we also have chat. Chat is almost instantaneous. If you want to chat with somebody, somebody's going to be with you like that, because our support people can, they can deal with 2 chats at once plus be on the phone with somebody. So it just gets you in front of somebody a lot quicker if you have to ask a real quick question. Let's see. Is there anything else I really wanted to go over here? No, I think that is going to be it. If you guys have any questions, get them in now. Use the chat. Or if you're watching this after the fact, you can simply use our training email, which is going to be training@sfrep.com. And that will go directly to me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So if you don't think of them now, if you're a little bit shy now, or like I said, if you're watching a replay of this video, training@sfrep.com, be happy to answer any questions you have. If you need to get in touch with tech support, you can email them directly, tech@sfrep.com. They're there 7 days a week, usually in the afternoons on the weekends, or you can call them directly also 7 days a week at 800-644-4051. You can also use that number to get in touch with our regular customer service as well. Thank you all for showing up. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a great week. I'm going to go out and enjoy this weather. Hopefully you guys have some inspections you got to do out in this weather. Hopefully the weather's pretty good where you are. I think it's going to possibly thunderstorm later, but we'll see. But anyway, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Contact me if you have any questions or if you need anything. Y'all have a great one.